Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sports Mecca. My name is Morey, and I'm here joined with Laurenz. Laurenz, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Tennessee lost a tough game in Auburn, 84-80. But before we get to that, I just want to talk a little bit about the baseballs. They're number 21 in the country right now. Our baseball team is doing fantastic. They're 13-1. They just lost their first game in the third game of a triple header to Fresno State. And they start SEC play on Friday against Auburn at Auburn. So make sure you go watch that team. I mean, that is a good team. And along with the softball team, number 7 in the country, they've only lost 2 games. They haven't lost a conference game yet. Oh, they're 2-1 in the conference against Florida. They just lost 1 game to them. Other than that, this team is doing fantastic things. So I just want to give a shout out to those teams here on Rocky Top because they are doing fantastic things. Let's now get to basketball a little bit. Laurenz, we saw Tennessee have a great start against Auburn, and it looked like they were in control of this game, and then it seemed to get a little bit away from them. They led by as much as 11 in the second half, ended up losing the game by 4. But there were some positive things, Laurenz. What are some of the better things you saw out of Tennessee on Saturday?
Like you mentioned before, I think the one thing that they got going was, you see a 3 there by Lamonte Turner. That was a good thing there. And here's another steal right here by Lamonte Turner.
He started out the game fantastic. Ended up going 1 for 8, though.
And they shoot right back. 3 ball in the corner.
Auburn was 13 of 34 from 3-point range.
But then Jordan Bowden gets going. Pull-up jumper. Here he is again. 3 ball.
And they were getting it to him early. He was shooting the ball at a high quality, only 3 shots in the second half. I mean, Bryce Brown, the senior, 16 points, 4 for 9 from 3, had a great game.
Jordan Bowden again.
I mean, they were getting him the ball over and over in the first half. That was the formula. It seemed to just not work in the second half. And there's a fantastic and 1 there for Auburn.
There it is again for Auburn. Wide open 3-point shot.
That seemed to be a big story for the game.
In the second half, Tennessee just struggled. It wasn't the same intensity. There's a still easy dunk.
It's a big momentum shifter right there as Admiral causes a turnover. Admiral Schofield with a big 3. He was 3 for 4 from beyond the arc.
3 ball right back at him.
And this is fantastic. Grant doing a spin move. Nope, kick out to Jordan Bone, and that's a fantastic 3. Jordan Bone only 2 for 8 from beyond the arc, but that was a big one for the Vols.
That's a great shot. Wide open 3, you cannot do that. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know.
And that was the controversial call in the game. It was a 3-point swing. Did look like it maybe got tipped in from the replay.
It did look like it maybe got tipped in. There's the block by Grant Williams right to him and 3 ball, bang again.
And that is when the ball is legitimately not bouncing your way.
Kyle Alexander with the rebound right off the knee of Bowden.
And that sealed it for the Auburn Tigers over there. And so now we go to this. Tennessee, only 4 losses on the season, though. They're going to be 3rd in the SEC Conference. This is not over for Tennessee by any means, but there were some bad things, and we've seen this as some habits now for Tennessee. When Tennessee gets beat, it seems to be from the 3-point line, and it seems to be by turnovers. Auburn had 11 steals. Tennessee turned over the ball 13 times to Auburn's 5. That is unacceptable, especially when Tennessee wins the rebound battle like they did 39-27. Laurenz, what are some things that the Vols can do to maybe get better on perimeter defense and keep momentum their way?
One thing they have to do is hustle. I feel like Tennessee, they tend to lose their hustle in the second half. The first half, of course, Tennessee's defense isn't as great as it should be, but in the second half, it really wasn't how it was at the beginning of the first half. They just struggled. They couldn't keep the intensity going the whole game, and I think that's really something Tennessee needs to work on.
Absolutely. You know, another thing I would say is 16 free throws were taken by the Volunteers, 10 of them by Grant Williams alone. That is just unacceptable for a team that thrives off of physicality. Rick Barnes likes getting his players to the line, and I think that's something that they need to do better at now. And not to mention, we talked about the turnovers. Every player that played minutes for the Volunteers besides Derek Walker, who only played 4 minutes in the game, turned over the ball for the Volunteers. That is completely unacceptable, especially when you have playmakers as such they do. Jordan Bone is the primary ball handler. He needs to be getting into those facilitators. He only had 1 of those turnovers. Bowden turned it over twice. Turner turned it over twice. Schofield turned it over twice. These are not good things, not good statistics you want to see for the Volunteers, especially when they were in control of the game. So now we look back, we look at the SEC tournament. What are you looking here for the Vols to maybe change a little bit?
I think the number one thing is defense. Most definitely. Defense, defense, defense. Defense wins championships no matter what sport it is, and that's going to be the one thing that they need to improve to play teams like LSU and Kentucky once it gets late in the rounds. What do you think?
You know, it is interesting. I think role players is going to be huge. You know, I mentioned Bowden having 3 points, 3 shots in the second half, and we were watching those highlights. I mean, it looked like every other one in the first half seemed to be Jordan Bowden, him hitting shots. He's a fantastic scorer who comes off the bench. 6th man of the year potentially in the SEC. He was a big part. He's a big electric player. He comes in and gets big dunks, you know, great step back threes. He does things and shifts momentum for the Volunteers. We have not seen a lot of that from Bowden, and I don't think he got the opportunity in the second half that he should have. Along with Lamonte Turner, another guy who can spread the floor for the Volunteers. As I mentioned, 1 for 8 in the game. He started out with that steal and then had that 3 in the first 2 minutes of the game. Went 0 for 7 the rest of the game, with a couple of turnovers as well. Not what you want to see out of important players for the Volunteers. An 84-80 loss in Auburn. Hope is not lost yet, though. Only the 3rd seed in the conference. They might have to go through teams like Kentucky and LSU, teams that they have lost. But if they beat those teams, I mean, this could be a 2nd seed in the March Madness. What do you think, seeding-wise, for March Madness? What are the high hopes for Tennessee here? Is a 1 seed possible?
Man. No, 1 seed is not possible. At this point, I feel like Tennessee had too many SEC losses, and for a team like that to start off so great and then lose 3 of their best games, I could say that they played 3 of the best teams, and to take those losses, there's no way that they could be a number 1 seed again.
Is not what the news you want to hear on Rocky Top for the basketball team. There is no doubt, though, that this team still has a lot of potential and can get it done when they're playing as a unit on the hardwood. Rick Barnes is a fantastic coach, and they're going to be able to have to just make some adjustments and get it done in time. The SEC tournament starts on Wednesday. Tennessee will play on Friday, and I believe that game starts at 6 o'clock Central Time in Nashville. It'll be a fantastic game, and we can't wait to see who they play. That is all the time we have for segment 1 here on Sports Mecca. My name is Mac Morey, and this was Laurenz Howard. We will be right back.
My name is Adam Crabtree. I'm a senior here at the University of Tennessee. I am majoring in journalism, electronic media. I'm one of the executive producers on Vol Talk, and I'm also a member of the commercial production unit. How professional it is like the biggest surprise, because this is all a bunch of students coming in here. You know, we have faculty members that like advise us, but at the same time, it's all student ran. Every decision's made, it's made by the students, and how professional the atmosphere is. At the same time, it's still enjoyable and fun. It's a great learning experience. What's up? What's up? I've always enjoyed being on the sets. It's always like a second home to me. I always feel at home. This is what I want to do. I started out as like an audio guy. I was in charge of making sure all the guests were mic'd properly and the levels were appropriate. Hey Justin, can you count to 10 for me? Did that for about a year, and then like my 3rd semester, started in a producing role and just helping out with during the set, like making sure all the cameras were where they needed to be, and we had all the materials we needed for each show. The executive producer now, we're making sure the whole show's ready to go, and just to be able to step into like more of a leadership role and actually take on the responsibilities of getting the show off the ground has been kind of stressful at times, but it's been a great experience to learn this here. Besides going out in the real world and just like being thrown in the fire and not having any background or any experience beforehand. To know how to like conduct myself in a professional environment while still maintaining having fun and getting the job done is something that I probably could not have replicated anywhere else on campus.